others celebrate the wins,
Yes.
we celebrate the mud.
each episode has a special guest.
Tony-nominated actress, Broadway's Lily Cooper.
Tashir Zameda.
David A. Gregory.
Getting messy with muddy topics.
We are going to be talking about grief journey.
With hilarious moments
Now get over here.
And deep conversations.
I'm ashamed to even admit this, but this is what happened.
This is Into the Mud.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Into the Mud podcast. While others celebrate the wins,
We celebrate the mud. I'm Alex Kuman,
I'm Drew King.
and we're here today with our wonderful guest, Sexologist Natassia Miller.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So excited to have you. We'll get to how we know each other in a bit, but you are a sexologist certified by the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. You're
Yes.
based here. You are a former business lady, Columbia
Finance.
University grad, and you're the founder of Wonderlust, which is a sexual wellness brand. And you've been featured in all the magazines, GQ, Cosmo, Glamour, all that stuff. You're good at what you do. And we're so excited to have you in today. And we have such a fun topic. Well, first, we just need to get into how you and I met, because I think
I
it's,
love this story.
Yeah, it's
so
iconic.
fun. It is
so New
iconic.
York.
It's very New York,
Yeah.
and it's very on brand for me. I love it. So I was at a show. This was like 3 weeks ago. This was
Yeah.
really recent. I was at a show. I mentioned something about sex education, and then was like asking the crowd about like who does or does not want kids, and you were like, I don't. And then you were like, also, I love that you're a sex educator. I'm a sexologist. And I was like, do you live in the city? Do you want to get coffee? And you were like, yeah. And so I just wrote my number on a piece of paper and gave it to you while I was still on stage. And it was like such a fun audience.
love it.
Like the audience loved it. It was such a jam. And then we got coffee, and it was just like click, click, click.
It was.
It just was like just so easy. And
Dreams.
I love that you were so open to the exchange too. And like it was something that I've been thinking a lot more about lately. And we talked about at one of our last
Yeah.
episodes about just like the need for people to be more open to face-to-face interactions, and like
Yes.
kind of asking people out platonically or romantically, but just that because of phones, we've gotten so bad
Yeah.
at just like
Connecting as
face-to-face
human
interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think
that's
just being open to curiosity, right? Like being curious about meeting people and understanding them better and what drives them and like what you have in common. And
Yeah.
I think I've always been really curious and open, and I think that's been a really big benefit to my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And that's honestly a core part of the work that I do.
Okay, so
So yeah, we gotta kick it off. How do you become a sexologist? Like, how did you get on
what
this
was
path?
your path? What
Okay,
was your
but
path?
This is the question that I usually get of just like, what is a sexologist to begin with?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's someone who studies human sexuality, and it's an umbrella term that includes sex educators, sex coaches, sex therapists, and sex researchers.
Okay.
So formally, I am an educator and a coach. And that, that is what makes me a sexologist. And then within that, you can specialize in your, different areas. And what I focus on is couples who are in long-term relationships that want to bridge the desire gap. And this is very much tied to also how women understand and relate to their own sexuality and to pleasure. So I do tend to work with straight couples who, are struggling with that, and
Yeah.
the straights need help.
Yeah. The straights do
I think
need help.
everyone needs help, because I'm a gay man, but gays need help as well.
Gays-
in a
yeah.
different capacity.
Yeah.
Yes. But one thing that I've always heard from my queer friends and from queer sexologists is that because queer people are already
Questioning
living
and
in the
intuitive.
taboo
Yeah.
and like questioning all of that, there is generally less restraint.
I'll give you that for
is
sure.
Involved in
Yeah.
in all of this. So I feel like the straights are just living in this little box, and like things
Yeah.
need to be tidy, and they need to be in there, and they can't be messy, and they can't be risky.
Yeah.
And like all of this lives in the messiness and the risk, right?
I
Yes.
love that. So you mentioned the desire gap, and I was wondering if you could expand on that, particularly with long-term relationships, because I think that's something a lot of people experience.
Yeah. There's this late sexologist, Dr. Gina Ogden, and she says that we understand how women experience desire in relation to men, and it's generally in detriment to how men experience it. So we always feel like we don't experience enough desire, but really it's just that we experience it differently. There's also just like a biological factor that men have 10 times more testosterone than women do. So they're just hornier in general.
Yeah.
And there's less restraint, right? Like men grow up fondling with their penises because they need to, touch it when they pee. And they hear all this messaging that like, you can play with it and that you have more permission to be sexual and to desire and go after the things, which is also tied to career success and, all these other things. Whereas for women, it's very much about like you need to protect yourself and you need to appease others and you need to be kind and you need to be nice. And, speaking up is frowned upon for women. And so all of these factors end up impacting how we relate sexually, whether we want to acknowledge or whether we're aware of them or not, and whether we change our sexuality and our gender later in life. Like that socialization early on impacts us so much.
I feel like in general, women, especially growing up, the messaging that you received and that I received as a man, but as an outsider understood that women's sexuality was meant to be there as an object and a desire for men, not for you yourselves. Does that make any sense? It's Sports Illustrated. It's Victoria's Secret. And yes, while that does demonstrate the beauty of the female physique, but it's for the enjoyment of men.
Yes.
Like the owner of Victoria's Secret isn't Victoria. It's a man.
It's a pedophile.
Indeed.
It's a pedophile.
So
it's like we're looking at you. You're on the list of
that psychological impact has to like last you through your life for all women in general.
Well, and I think I think about driving through a state like Indiana and you see erectile dysfunction billboards.
Oh my gosh.
And yet we're in a state that criminalizes abortion, right? Like the paradox of like men being encouraged to have sex, and it's like if you're having trouble having sex, there's a lot of pills for you to make sure you don't have trouble having sex, and then just the opposite end of that.
And when we take care of the men, but we're not taking care of the women who need to have sex with these men,
right?
So, it's a big issue, but you don't even need to go as far as abortion. It's just even Viagra is covered by health insurance. It's not even questioned, whereas vaginal estrogen is not, and it tends to be questioned by insurance companies because they tie it to simply being a sexual dysfunction. And, it's...
I'm reading rereading Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, and it's this book about this. I'd say
it's the Bible of like female pleasure, but she does cover, just male bodies as well.
It's an amazing scientific look at what you were talking about before, where it's like our body, essentially the idea is that we all have the same parts, but they're just structured differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's like the brakes and the accelerator. And like if you have really sensitive brakes or the part of your brain that like shuts you down and makes you not want to have sex, which for women could be anything from like I'm not on birth control to like I am stressed from work or like taking care of kids all day. Like that's like one of the brakes. Mm-hmm. And if you have really sensitive brakes, and people have different sensitivities, then that's a factor. But you might also have really sensitive accelerator, or you might have it's like it's all different stuff. But we look at women who are having trouble getting aroused in whatever way, and we're like, well, that's dysfunctional, versus looking at like, well, we only really really look at male bodies just in general in science. We're really only studying men.
Absolutely.
And
Well, I mean, it starts with the fact that we think that, desire should be spontaneous and it should happen like this. And if it doesn't, then, you're not in the mood. There's something wrong with you. There's nothing worth exploring there. And so that's part of the desire gap that I work on, is because most men tend to relate to spontaneous desire, which is, you realize that you're in the mood and you become aroused, you become hard or wet. It's what happens between your legs, right? And desire is like what you find sexy. So with a lot of women, it actually, the opposite happens. They need some more time, more context, more emotional and physical connection. Then they'll become physically aroused, and then they'll realize that they're in the mood, but they need more time cultivating that. And so if you consider that, most couples are having sex anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, and it takes women 20 to 40 minutes to become fully aroused. Like, no wonder you are
No
not-
wonder we're not coming.
No wonder they're not craving
I've literally
sex.
never made a woman come.
Yeah, I
'cause I'm
know.
gay.
Wait, have you ever tried?
No, I did feel up my girlfriend. I went to second base with Sophia. Hi, Sophia. When I was a sophomore in high school.
Second base.
That
I
was
haven't heard that in a
it.
while.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I
That's as
love
far as I
that.
went.
But
I'm
you-
honestly,
Yeah.
though, as of late, I'm like very curious about this. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
sounds odd as a gay man,
No.
but I'm very curious about it. Yeah.
We talked about watching straight.
Yeah, I primarily only watch straight porn. Yeah.
Love that.
That's a total sidebar. Anyway, carry on.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
straight women tend to watch lesbian porn.
Right. Yeah.
And it's because it centers female pleasure. And a lot of straight men watch trans porn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. I remember finding my stepfather's trans porn collection.
Wow. We haven't
He's
touched.
dead. We can talk about
We
it. yeah.
can talk about it. What like a
Oh yeah, yeah, like a whole like
magazines?
DVD. He had a whole DVD collection.
DVDs.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
we love
this
DVDs.
is this is
Blu-ray.
like 2000. This is like 1999, 2000.
Wow.
Like this was I remember being like, oh, okay,
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Love that.
Anyway,
did you end up sharing anything with your mom?
my mom knew. Yeah,
Okay.
Mhm, my mom was aware.
Do you think they ever talked about it?
They
Do you think this?
did.
Do you think this Boston couple ever talked about it?
Well, one fun fact that you don't know is that my mother, transpon, my mother worked for an escort agency in middle school and high school. So she was like the secretary who like booked the girls.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole other story for another time. But yes, so my family was very sex positive from a very young age.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So cool.
Yeah.
We like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, so I want to jump into some questions that we have. So
Yeah.
you work. Do you talk to us about who it is that you work with, and what are some of the common themes that come up in those sessions?
Okay. So I tend to work with couples who have been together for 15 plus years, who have kids. They do tend to be straight in the US, and they're dealing with like, hey, I actually really miss the sex life that we had pre-kids earlier on in our relationship. And we feel so disconnected, and, we want to explore new things, and we just don't know how to begin, right? Like, it just kind of feels like it's such a wide valley that you don't even know
Yeah.
where to begin. So what I do is first of all, I tackle the relationship dynamic. Because if that isn't resolved, if you have resentment there, if things feel unequal, you're obviously not going to desire sex with your partner.
Mhm.
You need to admire them. You need to
Respect them.
respect
Respect,
them,
yeah.
crave them. And so you build that attraction by kind of solving the foundational part of it. So it's understanding the mental load, how that's divided amongst the couple. What are the resentments that people hold? What are the insecurities? Because a lot of times you're just so scared to even step into this work, because generally couples are, this is regardless of sexuality. It's like couples have a hard time talking about sex because they're scared of a fear of rejection, of your partner looking at you differently, or fear of losing the relationship altogether.
Is there also just a general fear of people not knowing how to talk about sex,
Yes.
even
because-
with their partner?
Yeah.
Because I that's something that you and I talked a little bit about, of like, and we talk about a lot on the pod, is that like just even talking about consensual sex is
Yeah.
nearly impossible for most people, because we don't get any sort of comprehensive sex ed, and there's a lot of shame and scariness around it.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that is also a factor.
It is. And women tend to approach this as like, I'm doing sex for him,
yeah,
not for me.
Mhm.
And so how do we change that narrative?
yeah.
And they're not masturbating nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to self-pleasure, because that's another one of the messagings that we grow up with, right? You need to know your body really well in order to ask for what you want.
Know
and
what you
hone your
like.
pleasure,
Yeah.
know what you like.
Which is so hard, even as someone who talks about this all the time.
Right.
That's even a struggle for me, where I'm like still like, okay, how exactly do I want to be touched? Or like how, like, it's even hard to speak up like, even as someone who is as vocal
Yeah.
as I am about it. So that's like, I wanted to mention that as like a piece to this.
Absolutely.
So what is like the kind of stuff, what are the recommendations that you give to couples who are going through this? So we have to like resolve some of the foundational stuff.
Some of the foundational stuff, sometimes something as simple as like not using your phone during dinner time so that you actually have, you know, one-on-one quality conversations that aren't just logistics. And that already starts to like change the tone in the relationship. And then your largest sexual organ is your brain. So how are you stimulating that? Like, no wonder you are no longer craving your partner because you think you know everything about them. And you're also just not taking any time to explore and be curious. So you come into this, people are like, I hate scheduled sex. And I'm like, I get it, because you think you need to show up in the mood, right? Like you're just going to turn it on like that. And no, why don't you look at it as an opportunity for you to seduce each other and build that anticipation, and you arrive and it's not going to be penis and vagina, you know?
Right.
It's going to be touching each other and massaging, and like there's so many different somatic exercises for you to explore erogenous zones. And so, you know, how do you expand your palate, so to speak, right? That's one of the exercises that I give. It's
I
like,
love that.
how are you stimulating that? What are you interested in? I have this super long sexual menu, from the most vanilla things to the kinkiest things. And you'd be surprised, because some of the most seemingly vanilla couples are actually interested in kinky stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love the idea of like, we miss our sex life when we first started dating.
Yeah.
And I remember Esther Perel saying this thing that like blew my mind, where she was like, what are initial dates if they are not scheduled sex? Like that's what
I love it when she said that.
That's what scheduled sex looks
Yes.
like.
It is.
You are scheduling time to get to know this person and to have sex with them.
Right.
That's what scheduled sex is.
Yeah.
And it is so erotic and hot because you're exploring, you're figuring out what you like, and because of the anticipation. Like that's the other thing, is that like
anticipation, yeah.
you're like, I don't know if this like, I'm not sure where they stand. Like if it's the first like few dates, you know, you're still like, ooh, do they like me? What are they doing? Like, I don't know that much about them. Like there's still some air of mystery around it, that you're like still, there's that buildup that happens. And so that really reframed like scheduled sex for me.
And like people see it as like a pass-fail test when it shouldn't be, right? Like it really should be this opportunity for you to learn new things about each other. And like, I don't mean to get all businessy here, but like you get these data points. You tried something, it didn't work out, you didn't like it. That's a data point for you to understand, okay, this is like, we're putting it away. Or you tried something and it was awkward, but you're like, I don't know, we could give it a shot again. You know, maybe it's not going to be the next time around, but like that stays with you and you'll let it digest for the future. So it's just, I think it's very much of seeing it as adult play rather than, you know, the pass fail that does very much like restrict couples in their sex lives.
I, at one point in time, did have a boyfriend where it was like, okay, we got to like, let's start scheduling sex because we weren't having it more. But it just created anxiety for me because it was like, oh God, it's Sunday's coming up. God, we have to have sex today. Like, am I ready to go? Like, I just got so caught up about it. So I love that idea of planning it as like playtime, getting to know each other time, warming each other up, exploring, instead of being like, yep, it's just now like time for pull out your dicks and have sex.
Like seduction is the art of it all, right?
Yeah.
Like what do you need to seduce each other? I remember I got this advice from this sexologist called Keanu Reeves. She actually works for Euphoria.
Wait, Keanu Reeves?
Yeah,
That's a
I love that.
sure.
I know.
Okay, great.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
she's
Kind parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. She's in Topanga and like very spiritual. And I remember one of the, advice that she gave me was, sometimes I go on dates with my husband and we pretend like we're obsessed with each other. Like it's this kind of like new relationship energy thing. And I remember listening to that and feeling like that feels forced, and then I tried it with my husband and it actually does change the energy,
Yeah.
right? And so I think a lot of people get stuck on like, well, these things don't feel natural. And then you finally try it, whether it's scheduled sex or trying to show up with a little bit more enthusiasm for something that you might not necessarily be excited about, or, you know, pretending like you're a little bit more interested in your partner than you normally would. And it does shift the energy. But again, if you're not holding all this resentment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one, I feel.
Yeah.
Resentment and the, you know, some of my own experiences and stuff that I hear from friends also is like when the dynamic changes where like you feel like you're the caretaker or the caregiver in the relationship and you start to feel like you are like mothering your partner or whatever the inverse of that is, that's also such a shutdown moment where it's like, well, this is my child. This is another child I have to take care of. Of course, I'm not sexually attracted to them.
And you don't want to fuck your child.
You don't. We are biologically wired not to.
Yeah. Amen.
Except for our president. Anyways,
truly, that does impact. Yeah.
Well, this is such a good. We wanted to
have
talk
to plug
about these
this.
because you brought us these wonderful card decks, right? So talk to
Yes.
us about what these are, and we're gonna like look at a couple because I love them.
They're so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
They're really lovely.
So before I became a sexologist, I used to work in finance, and then I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I dabbled in another wellness company that didn't work out because of COVID. And I realized when I was in the other company that I really enjoyed actually being an entrepreneur, and I was thinking about the next step. And I've always loved talking about sex and relationships, which is not the case for a lot of people. They have a hard time doing so, right? And I was looking at interesting intimacy card decks in the space that, you know, weren't heteronormative, weren't cringy, and that were something like beautiful and experiential for you to engage in. And I saw this gap. And I remember also my husband telling me, like, you have such an ease in asking for what you want, and that is not my experience with other women. And I thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity for me to help couples get off their phones and make a hard conversation, which is talking about sex, easier and fun and exciting, something to look forward to. So that is the idea of the intimacy card deck. And I think the funny thing about it is I created it for, you know, long-term relationships in mind, but couples that have just started dating, like the first few dates kind of thing, they love it because they're like, well, you're asking questions that you never would early on, and you're having really hot sex because of it.
Yeah.
Like
So-
speeds up the intimacy, not speeds
Yes.
it up, but like kind
But
of
in a good way.
In a good way. In a good
You
way.
know?
Yeah.
Well, so I
okay,
love, yeah.
You know what's one thing that happens in the beginning? We become too complacent and we want to appease others. So like they do things that we don't like, and we're like, it's okay because you're, you know, in love.
Yeah,
Like, you really want, you know.
right.
And then like 6 months or a year down the line, and you're like, actually, I've always hated that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and they become
Yes.
confused.
Because they're like, wait, you said you liked it. And I think that's another element of like just the female brain of like wanting to make sure everyone around you is comfortable, even to your detriment or discomfort.
Yeah.
And so you don't actually speak up because A, you've never had practice speaking up for yourself. And B, you're just like, no, but I like this person. I want them to stick around. And if this is what they like, I
Yeah.
can figure out a way to mold myself into that.
Yeah.
And then that's, I think, also where you get to resentment is where you're like, I don't fucking want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you never spoke up about it either. Like it's
Yeah.
a two-way street here. Like there is that responsibility to say the things that you want and don't want. I love that. I love that. I want I love some of these cards. So when did you know you were into me? Describe that moment in detail. What color and type of underwear do you like the most on me?
These are the more vanilla questions.
These are the vanilla
That
ones.
is level one.
This is level one. Okay, hold
yeah,
on.
so we have our
okay,
three
wait.
levels, right?
Okay, hold on. It's 2 levels.
Yeah.
True. Ready?
So the first level is like, yeah, it's to warm things
Warm
up.
things, but I
And
love
these are,
that.
like,
But that's
cute
for like.
things.
But
There's
I
a-
love that too, especially for people who are less comfortable talking about any of this, because they're again, I always go back to the fact, you know, I'm on stage every night. I do a lot of jokes about body stuff. I do a lot of sex jokes, and I was just talking to a comedian about this last night, like particularly for women, either hearing the jokes or women telling the jokes. Particularly around female bodies, pleasure, sex,
Yeah.
people absolutely shut down.
Yeah,
People shut
they
down with
do.
sex in general.
Right.
But especially when it's a woman,
Oh,
they
yeah.
will shut down. And I am on stage listening to men talk about coming all night.
Yeah.
And then I get on stage and talk about the same thing, and people just, it's just
Yeah.
a wall. And so I think we just societally need to get more comfortable talking about consensual sex in general. because it's also the reason why we can't talk about non-consensual sex, which is why sexual violence is such an issue. But well, that's for another day. But I love those like intro questions and then these like level 2 questions. Okay, Drew, ready?
Okay. Oh my God. All right.
When was the first time you had a sexual thought about me, and what was it?
So Alex and I studied abroad in Spain, and I remember you were so fucking hot.
So hot.
And I was like, I want to braid her hair. And that was sexual to me.
So sexual. I love it. I love.
No, you're hot. You've always been hot.
Thank
You're
you.
a babe.
You're a babe.
Thank you.
That's why we're friends.
That's why we're friends.
Hot people attract hot people. I love this. Kiss my neck the way you would want to be kissed. I love that. I love that.
So we have some action prompts. They're not all question
Yeah.
prompts. Yeah.
Like these are so great for like.
And not heteronormative, like you said. They're like, those are pretty
No.
broad. That's for everybody.
That's for everyone, and it gives people the opportunity. It's like it almost gives people the opportunity to be like, well, I'm not asking this question. The cards are asking this question.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like it takes a little bit of the onus off of like I have to come up with stuff. Like I think that's the thing too for a lot of people is they're like if they have had like vanilla relationships or aren't really sure where to even start. Like these are such a good
great
prompt.
introduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the art, because the art is so
Yeah,
beautiful.
the art is amazing.
Thank you. So I partnered with a Brazilian friend of mine, Natalie Edinburgh, who does not have a Brazilian name. And she is a beautiful artist in Brazil. And so I commissioned her to do the artwork for the card deck and to, really make it like an erotic experience too. So there's a lot of female bodies because that's her jam. But yeah, it's beautiful.
This kind of looks like a black and white, beautiful, like Matisse sketch.
Yes. She does have a Matisse
I love that.
take to it.
It's awesome.
So incredible.
Thank you.
Well, and we were talking before we started rolling here about how you intentionally chose this image as the cover art for the deck.
I wanted to create, so basically it's a woman that's, actually, you really don't know which gender it is, but there's someone that's sitting down and then there's like this beautiful like body draping over the body that's in the middle. And I wanted to have something that was artistic and a little bit sensual, but also not something that was overly sexual that would have people want to just throw it into their closets and because they're worried that it might alarm the kids, for example. So I wanted to do something that was unassuming. But today, if I had the choice, and I do have the choice for the next round, I want to there's one of the images on there is two faces that are kissing with like a dove behind it. And I'm just like, why didn't I include that to begin with? But
I think this is great though. And you and I talked the first time we got coffee about just like the difficulty even of having sex imagery content be at the forefront of anything because it gets censored on social media. People get shut down.
I will say that's like the only silver lining of Trump is the being able to talk about sex more openly on social media because before it was bad.
Yeah. Do you like what? And I think it's especially interesting because you're Brazilian.
Yeah.
So that's a big cultural difference of like just celebration of bodies, celebration of sex. I feel like Brazil's way better at that. I don't feel like that is fact versus how America views it. And is like, I just wanted to ask you, like, what do you think it is about sex that makes it scary for people to talk about and online and in those areas? Like, why are we so afraid to like have that? And I do get that, like, yeah, there are kids online, so there's, we got to censor a little content, but like, why are kids allowed online is my question. Like, get them offline. Yeah. But do you have any thoughts or things
Well, I think it's just we're not taught anything about sex education. We're just taught about prevention, right? It's like going to a cooking class and learning about salmonella and not about how to make a delicious dish. So it's risk management,
Yeah.
So we're not taught the vocabulary and we just have this really disconnected relationship to sex. Like it's like in and out, pump and dump, pass fail. And so for a lot of people, it's like, what is there to talk about? Isn't this just what the experience is? Like they don't know that there is more out there that you can question, that this can be funner and more delicious for you. So there just is no language. And then there's, all of like generational trauma that comes with it, like actual trauma that is very common. Unfortunately, sex negative messaging from, religion and culture. And so people just, don't feel comfortable whatsoever. I mean, what is your relationship with you as a sex educator? Obviously, today you're more evolved in that aspect, but like, what was your upbringing like where?
I had actually, similarly to Drew, I had like a pretty open, so my mom was a labor and delivery nurse for years. And so I remember when I had my first boyfriend in high school, she just like walked by my room and like didn't even come in. She just popped her head in. She was like, well, hey, let me know when you want to get on the pill, and just like kept moving. And I was like, is my mom pressuring me to have sex? But it was,
she didn't like have a full blown conversation with you.
It wasn't a full blown conversation, which was like, it wasn't like a sit down. And again, I think for that generation, things were probably even more, but she was pretty open about it. She would always tell me too, she was like, listen, if you or any of your friends ever need an abortion, like you come to me. Don't ever go to like, we're not doing back alley stuff here. I will, no questions asked, to take care of whoever needs to do it. And so I like de facto became the friend that was like I had a friend in high school who she had a pregnancy scare, and she was like, if I take birth control pills, I can, like, if I take like a bunch, I can, and I was the only friend who was on birth control pills. And so I like gave her my pill pack, and then I ran out and I had to refill my pills early. And I remember talking to my dad about this and having to be like, here's the deal. Please don't like tell anyone, but like, I need this to be refilled. And he was like, all right, cool. Yeah. Like he was super cool about it too. They were I had very open parent, like I never felt like I couldn't go to them for anything, which I think was so helpful just in me talking about it. But I know that that's widely certainly not the case.
Yeah. What, you grew up in a sex positive household, but were there any actual conversations, dialogues?
Yeah. So there were pros and cons. For us, it was very porn forward, was the way that sex was introduced to me. So I remember my mom and my stepdad bought me and my brother a Penthouse magazine, and they were like, this is sex, this is porn. And they were like, sex is good, it's healthy. But like when you're that young and you're looking at a pornographic magazine, you just see porn, which is not a realistic interpretation of what sex and sexual relationships are, or intimacy. Right. So I was fortunate enough that they were like very, very, very liberal about it. But I do think that like a lot of my understanding of sex and intimacy has been framed within a pornographic lens, which I think has hurt me in the long term. Yeah. So it's complicated, but I did have a lot of space to talk about it, be comfortable about it. They told us that masturbation was a healthy thing and nothing to be ashamed of. So there was like, I was very fortunate. That's great. Very lucky. Yeah.
Like your grandfather isn't watching you from above. Like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, oh my God, Grandma, sorry. Like, I mean, I still have those Catholic guilt feelings, though.
That's the Catholic guilt stuff is so weird to me. Like when I dated someone who came from a Catholic background, and when he was telling me about just like literally what you're told is like people are watching you masturbate, and like, and then you have to tell a priest about it in confession. I'm like,
that's
no
traumatizing.
wonder. That's so messed up. That's so messed up, especially coming from that church.
But then because of all of this, you don't know what's normal and what's not. And so, that's another thing that prevents people from having these conversations. They think they're broken. And they're like, well, I don't want to expose that I'm broken.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep on going with this.
Getting out of that, like, I'm broken or my body is wrong is such a hard thing, but I think it's actually happening more. I'm seeing, I think that we are becoming better about talking about it across the board. And I want to know, so like for someone who is in that place right now where they're like, okay, I've been struggling with this. I've been struggling with my own like sexuality, my wants, my needs, eroticism, getting in touch with myself. How would you tell them to begin? Like, where is like a starting point for someone who wants to like embark on a better sex life for themselves and with whatever partner they have?
Right. I think it starts with cultivating the eroticism, meaning what are the things that make you feel alive?
Yeah, because eroticism is not just sex, right?
It's creative energy, right? It's like it's the things that bring you joy. And so if you're just clocking in and out and you're living this very like robotic autopilot kind of life, you need to cultivate a sort of, a hobby, a sport, something that brings you joy, and start bringing more of that into your life so that you connect with joy and with pleasure in contexts that are not sexual. And so the more that you are attuned to that and you invite that into your life, the more open you are to sexual pleasure. So you start with like understanding what do you need to cultivate for your own needs that make you feel good? And then it's understanding like what are the blocks that are preventing you from enjoying sex? Like, is it having to overcome any trauma? Is it not knowing your body and having to take a look at your vulva or your penis in the mirror, building a better relationship to your body image, being more accepting of it, learning how to masturbate, or try to engage your imagination in things that go far beyond porn? I mean, it can be literary erotica, it can be audio erotica, it just what are the things that stimulate or bringing in memories from the past, but that like will detract you from getting one source of stimulation consistently that can also be a hindrance. That's generally how we associate with porn, for example. And then being open to exploring different forms of touch and honestly different forms of intimacy in general, like feeling less restrained to opening up to others and to feeling comfortable with like actually being very specific about what it is that you want. Maybe that kind of stimulation right at that point that the person has been doing for the last couple of minutes isn't working for you. And so you can like guide them and feel more comfortable strengthening your voice. But I really, truly think it starts with bringing joy and creative energy like outside of bed, and then understanding how that can translate into your sexual life, like that feeling of embodiment, of like tuning into sensation and knowing that you deserve that too.
That hypothesis is the exact same premise of Pleasantville. Have you seen the movie Pleasantville?
Yes.
It's been so long. I need to rewatch it.
It's Joan Allen is the housewife and nothing's going on for her. She's just like the prim and proper wife. And then she meets the guy who works at the diner who falls in love with art. And then he introduces art to her. And she's just so like enraptured with it. And she can't get enough of it. And she finds this like deep passion about art and like expressionism, and then from there it leads her down like a passionate path. And there's that scene where she's in the bathtub and she masturbates for the first time, and then the tree sets on fire, and then moving forward she's in color, she's no longer in black and white, and it's because she found a passion outside of her life that then opened up this door into her own sexuality and intimacy.
I love that.
That just clicked for me. It's an incredible movie. It's beautiful.
It's so spot on. One, it's so aligned too with like the chakra system, and like when you're feeling like creatively blocked, oftentimes there's like a sexual block, and reconnecting with yourself and kind of clearing the pathway can help unlock it. But that's another thing with sex where like we think it's just like it's penis and vagina and that's it, and it's like no, but it's like it's such a higher level thing. It's like a spiritual thing. It's a way to just like engage with, I think, your higher self and like whoever you are having sex with too. Like it's just so much more than like a physical.
Well, and then also, I mean, sure, like there can be medical conditions, maybe if you're going through, perimenopause, menopause, or, you're a man who is in their 40s or 50s, like you have lower testosterone. Like what are the things that you actually do need to go to the doctor and adjust? But research consistently shows that all of these other life factors like relationship satisfaction, stress, anxiety, depression, body image, gender socialization, all of these things weigh more on your desire than hormonal balance or imbalance.
Fascinating.
Can I ask you what your advice is for couples that aren't necessarily aligned with their desires. So say there's someone within a partnership who has like a pretty wild kink or a fetish,
Right.
and then they have an additional partner who's like, that is absolutely not for me. And
Yeah.
so the kink or the fetish lives either in shame or in quiet, which could lead to infidelity, which I'm sure
Yeah.
So what is your advice for couples in that sphere?
This is hard.
Yeah.
And my advice is there any element of that fantasy, that kink, that you are willing to try? Like, how can you meet each other halfway or like a third of the way? Is there an element of it that you're open to exploring with your partner? But in general, if there's something that lives on and that makes that person feel like they are not being seen and they're not able to live that out,
Mm-hmm.
this is when like people close down. Like this can really impact self-confidence and happiness and all the things. So then it's like, well, under what circumstances are you going to agree upon having your partner explore that outside of the relationship? Because like not all kinks involve any sort of penetration or
Sure.
genital touch,
Mhm.
for example. So are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are the boundaries that you're going to set? And you're going to allow your partner to like seek that out. Are you willing to open up the relationship in some sort of way as well?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do think that non-monogamy is a very legitimate response in this context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you've tried all the other things and you're like, this is
Yeah.
still not.
Well, and I think so much of it too just comes down to communication, which
Yeah.
is not something that most people are great at.
No.
It just even if you're with someone for a long time doesn't mean that you know how to like truly communicate with them, and especially around something like this. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, there's so much. Well, I wish we could talk for 7 more hours, but we're running out of time. So if anyone wants to like work with you, or if there's anything you want to plug about
Yeah.
your stuff, now's the time.
So you can find me at Natassia Miller, and my website is Wonderlust with an O, wonderlust.co. And you have my coaching, the card deck. Reach out. Email me.
Yeah.
I'm open to
And we'll tag and
chatting.
put all that in the
Yes.
show notes as
Incredible.
well.
I love it.
And
love
then
it.
so fun.
I
And then
know
you
it.
have a
I have a little game. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this game is called Name That Sex Toy. I'm going
Oh.
to see how proficient you are in varying sex toys, okay?
Oh, now
my
I'm
God.
sweating.
No, you're going to
Okay,
be
I love
great. You're going to
this.
be great.
I love
There,
this.
there's some pretty easy ones in there.
Okay.
And then we'll see how it goes. Okay, here we
Okay.
go. 3, 2, 1.
butt plug.
Oh, that's the masturbate, like the penile masturbator.
It's a fleshlight, yes.
A fleshlight. That's like butt beads.
Yeah, anal beads, yes.
Anal
Beads.
beads. Oh, the harness.
Harness, yes.
Oh, nipple plugs.
Nipple clamps, yep.
Nipple clamps. The rabbit.
Yes.
Wow.
Butt plug.
This is a butt plug with a fidget spinner. I just thought it was
Okay.
funny, so I included
Oh
it.
That
my
is
God.
hilarious. Oh, that's the dildo.
It's the dildo.
That are being thrown at ice vehicles in Minnesota.
Yes.
That's the clitoral section.
Yes.
That's a whole latex suit.
Like gimp suit.
Yeah.
Think Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
my God.
a massive.
massive
I don't think I
dildo.
could take that
Oh
on.
my God.
That is a prostate stimulator.
Yes.
I was going to say anal
Crushing.
stimulator,
Correct.
prostate, yeah.
Crushing.
And that is the weighted, like vaginal weight.
Yes.
It's a vaginal
I
weight.
think it's an egg.
An egg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
But it is like
Yeah.
what I described. Oh yes, I know. I think it's wild that people have that at home. I forgot the formal name of this company, but it's like the thrusting machine.
Yeah, it's like a dildo fuck machine.
Yeah.
This was in like Burn After Reading.
Oh, it's a fister.
Rubber fists.
This is just your regular wand.
Regular vibrating wand. And that's
Yeah.
it. We're at the end.
Woo!
You got all of
Crushed.
them. You got
Absolute
all of them.
Crush City.
Congrats.
That's great.
Bravo. I love it.
I'm really, yeah.
Name that sex toy. You
Name
nailed
that
it.
sex
Name that.
toy
I
was.
thought you were gonna ask specific brands, and I'm like,
Oh my God, no. I
God,
wouldn't
no.
even know. No.
No, that's
certainly
too
not.
consumerist capitalist. We're not brand loyal
Oh my
here.
God.
Well, this was incredible, and
thank
thank
you
you
so much
so
for
much
being
for
here.
coming in. That was so fun. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, give her a follow, and hit her up if you have any sex questions or counseling questions for her.
And go have good sex.
Go have good sex.
Yay.
Please.
Go finger yourself. Go tug it. All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.